terminology, 4,000 feet, speed 180 knots, 1 double jingle.
Hello there. Welcome to the Cockpits and Cocktails podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Natalie Flygirl Kelly. Also have Fly Alyssa. We have come together to talk about our lives as women in aviation. We aim to have fun, to share, and hopefully entertain you and provide some beneficial information for all you aviation lovers and enthusiasts. Please subscribe. Let us know if there's a topic you want us to discuss in the future. You can find all of us on social media. Send us a message. We'll be glad to, discuss one of the topics that you're interested in. For now, here is the next episode of Cockpits and Cocktails. Hi, it's Natalie Flygirl Kelly. Welcome to this episode of Cockpits and Cocktails.
And it's Fly Alyssa here. We're in Chicago, and we have an extra special guest with us today. We have Sandra in from California, and Sandra is a corporate flight attendant. So we're going to learn more about what she does and how she got into this. So cheers.
Cheers, ladies. Okay, Sandra, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been a corporate flight attendant for about 14 years now, and a lot of people ask me how I got into it, and it's basically super simple. I followed my mom's footsteps. She's been flying for about, I'd say 18 or 19 years now, and went straight into corporate. So was fascinated with her stories, didn't know what to do quite yet with my degree. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a bachelor's in business marketing and was intrigued with all her stories and thought I would try it out. And 14 years later, I'm still doing it.
So as soon as you got out of college, you decided to kind of go after this. What do you do? What are the steps to get into this career?
It is a week long of training. It's the two known training groups would be flight safety or FACS training. Lots of other programs out there, but those are the two well-known training programs for corporate flight attendants. And after the initial training of a week, each year you have to go for recurrent, which is a 2-day training course.
Now, what does that entail? Is that more safety training for the airplane, or is that learning what your specific jobs might be, or
like customer service kind of things, or more like safety, emergency
safety,
stuff?
Of course, is priority. We're there for their safety first and foremost. So we do medical training, we do fire training, and then there's also the service side of it. The 5-star service that a lot of these clients expect on private jets.
Okay, so you fly on private jets. And do you work for a company and you work for multiple companies or families, or what do you...
I work for one family in particular, and I've been with them for almost 7 years.
Okay. What are some of the things you really like about being a corporate flight attendant?
Just always a challenge. It's always putting me through a challenge, trying to anticipate the client's needs before they ask me for something. And of course, the traveling, we get to go to amazing parts of the world and stay for as long as the clients get to stay and enjoy, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. What are some of your favorite places you've traveled to in this job that kind of excites you? Or
Greece by far has my heart. We go every summer. I've just love the people, the cuisine, the scenery is just absolutely stunning. And Australia would be another one. Would like to go back and explore a little bit more there. It was a quick trip. Italy is great. France. But most importantly, being home.
So when you travel with this family, is it like, are they going places for business or is it mostly leisure?
But a little bit of both.
Okay.
They tend to tie in a little bit of pleasure with the business trips.
And when you get to a location, do you have freedom to go be a tourist?
Yes,
or are you
absolutely.
locked to the airplane for some reason?
We're basically there in case they want to leave early or have some type of medical emergency. You never know. So we're just at their disposal.
So where do you stay on these layovers? Do you stay at their accommodations since you're a part of this like you're flying for this specific family, or are you, staying in different places every time?
It's usually a Hilton or Marriott property we'll tend to stay at, and we book our own rooms. So the crew takes care of booking their own rooms. So it's pretty simple.
Are you the only flight attendant on the plane?
Yes, I am.
Do you get some kind of special training on that particular airplane as well, or no?
Not necessarily. No, it's just a general training.
What kind of airplane is it?
It's a Gulfstream 4 SP.
That's so cool.
That is pretty awesome. If you guys don't know what that is, you should go and Google it right now.
I love Gulfstream.
But then there are so many newer models now. We've got, the 550, the 650, and, each year there's a bigger, better plane that's coming out. So the plane I work on is a little bit of an old school plane, but
that's still pretty sweet, though.
It's still
very,
pretty
very
awesome.
blessed.
Do you know the crew, like the pilot and co-pilot? I mean,
yes.
yeah, pretty well. They've been with them a while.
We have 3 pilots that, flip-flop around according to their schedules, and then it's usually just me all the time.
Do you have to live in Long Beach? Is that...
I don't have to. I mean, the plane's based in San Luis Obispo, but I can pretty much live a little bit outside of it, in that area.
Well, how soon in advance do you get your schedule?
I know.
And what if you want days off? How do you do that?
We are allowed to have 5 hard days off a month. However, it doesn't really mean anything. I'm always having to shift those days around, trying to accommodate, my client's schedule because I want to be available for them. Yeah, I'm gone about 20 days a month average.
Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot of travel.
It is, but I love what I do, that's for sure.
And how come you decided to go the corporate route versus like an airline?
I just don't think I would be interested in being around hundreds of people. I would get claustrophobic.
It's more of a personalized experience, I think, at corporate level. And you kind of have free reign to make things personal for them.
Exactly.
And I think that's something I'm interested in as a pilot. I think, that connection is a lot of importance to me. Like, everybody, thinks, oh, you're a pilot. Well, I don't want to work for an airline necessarily. I might work private or corporate or something just because I think that would be more personal.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And creating that personal touch on the airplane is something I really like to do, and decorating the airplane for different holidays, adding my own personal touch that the clients seem to really enjoy.
Oh, that's cool. So do they have like kids, family?
Sure, they have grown adult children.
And what are your duties exactly for them when they're getting ready to go on a trip? What do you do to prepare for a trip?
I do it all. I am the chef, the barista, the bartender, the personal shopper, the caterer. I mean, you name it, I do it. The florist.
They like flowers?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
I do.
So you kind of know this family really well.
Yes,
you know what they like. In the beginning, how did you figure all that out? Y'all just communicated about it?
It was all on my own, through working the last 7 years. You get to know their likes and their dislikes. And
so I'm sure in the beginning it's kind of stressful. Just
yes.
like, are they going to like me? Are they going to be receptive of things that because I know we had talked about before that they like certain foods on there, and you talked about catering, and I that's something I never really thought about, like, long distance trips and you're cooking for them and on the airplane. So I just like, how do you know or go about making things for them?
It just depends. I mean, obviously, I have a microwave and an oven and a skillet on the plane, so I am a little bit limited. Say, for example, I had a client that wanted a filet. I obviously can't grill up a filet on the airplane, but what I do is go to a restaurant, order the filet rare, and then I cook it and finish it off in the airplane. I do a lot of salads on the airplane. Soups are always great to reheat. And then when it comes to the complicated things, I might order that from catering or pick it up from a restaurant.
Okay.
But everybody's different. Every client, some people expect to have a chef on the plane. I am not a chef by any means. I didn't go to culinary school, but I have some good basic knowledge to, make my clients happy, and they seem to be pretty satisfied.
Does your mom? Is she still flying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Does she? Was she? You mentioned she was sort of influential. Do you two still chat a lot about that?
Oh, yes. We always compare little stories, and she doesn't work as much as I do, but she just did a 3-week trip to France, and I would love to have her job when she's done with it. Really? Because she doesn't work as much as I would love to take over her position.
Sounds super glamorous, doesn't it?
It sounds very glamorous, but it has to be hard being away from home and not having like a home base on a regular basis. So how do you go about that or deal with that?
It's definitely the most challenging thing in my life, trying to, even have some type of a relationship, friendships as well. Some people just don't understand that I have to basically drop things at the moment if I get a call to, fly out, and I have to cancel. And some people understand it and some people do, and I've lost friends along the way, so it's just part of my life.
Do you think you've influenced anybody else? You have friends that have kind of gone into the same thing?
Yes. I try to help anybody that, wants to ask questions, and I can always pinpoint them to the right direction, but I cannot guarantee a job. I mean, I can tell somebody go to flight safety training or go to FACS training, but after that doesn't mean you get a job.
Up to them.
Yeah, you have to go out and market yourself. And
how do people do that? I've heard it's a really big networking kind of
really
career.
hard. I mean, before 9/11, you could actually show up to these FBOs and meet people, but now there's so much security, it's hard to get through. So it's all about, it's cold calling a company, emailing, saying, can I, be in contact with your chief pilot or your chief flight attendant? I'd love to send my resume. And that's how that usually works. And then just being persistent. That's what a lot of girls or, boys don't do, is they expect after their training that they're going to get a position, but that's not the case. You just have to
and that people are going to be looking for that. Or
it's a very cutthroat industry to get into, and you just have to, my persistence paid off, and recommendations. Where I am right now is because I was referred to by another flight attendant, and here I am 7 years later with a full-time job because of her, which was great, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So I love to pay it forward to people that are good flight attendants and give them as much work as if I can't do it, I'd love to refer somebody else to be able to do some contract flying.
Sure.
So let's say you heard someone was looking for a corporate flight attendant. What could that person expect the process to be as far as interviewing and everything? Who do you meet with? How does all that work?
You meet with a chief pilot or a lead flight attendant or a few different flight attendants. I never had to do this before, but a lot of companies right now are doing mock flights where they give you a budget, I think of $100 or something like that, and you have to basically do a mock flight. You go into one of the planes when it's on the ground, they fire the APU up, and there's probably 2 or 3 of maybe fellow flight attendants or the chief flight attendant on the plane, and they're basically judging you and critiquing you the whole time.
Really?
Yes.
It's like the most intense interview.
I've never done it. I haven't, but I know that's how it works these days.
Okay. So you're given a budget.
Yes, and then they'll pay you back, of course.
Okay.
They'll say, hey, here's $100. Let's see what you can do with it.
Yeah. But you personally, when you go on these trips, they give you a certain budget for flowers, for food, for, how does that work?
It depends on the account. Mine, I don't really have a budget. But of course I'm always trying to be cost effective. And if I can get something at the grocery store, versus ordering it from catering, I could definitely do that. Because, you should see some of these prices that caterers charge. It is insane. It's just...
Well, what about, creating something at your home? Is that something that you would, fix something up at home, box it up? I love to cook.
Yes.
So that'd be something... this is sounding pretty lavish. I would love to cook for people and feed people. And I'm definitely that outgoing person. I think it'd be kind of fun to cater to people and see
and get to know the family. Seems really cool.
Yeah. So would you ever prepare a meal before at home? Or?
It's a little challenging because I do have to airline out from LAX to San Luis Obispo for every trip, or I could drive, but it's a 4-hour drive. I'd rather airline. It's a 40-minute flight. But if I was close by and I lived there, I would absolutely be a little bit more inclined to cooking and bringing things from home.
I did not think about you flying so much commercials. You're flying a lot.
Oh, yes.
Out of LAX.
Yes.
And then
I airline, and then I'll airline home too. So it's a lot of back and forth.
I'm assuming you clean the airplane and all that stuff as well. You're responsible for that.
Yes. And then when it goes back to home base, we do have a detail team, professional detailers that will detail the plane every so often.
And what would happen? Let's say you lose your job. They decide that they're not going to do this anymore. Then what would you do at that point?
I would just go to contract and try to get back in touch with all of my contacts that I used to fly with, because I was contract for about 13 years. I never got hired full time, and I worked with this company for about 6 years until they finally let me be full-time.
So with this company, you say you work for a company, are you directly paid from the client that you're flying with, or are you directly paid from a company that you're contracted through, but specifically set with this client?
Exactly. It's the company that manages the airplane that pays me.
Okay, cool. So tell me about, maybe you can just tell us something fun, like one of the craziest like experiences you had on a trip or something like that. Or most challenging or whatever. It's something that really sticks out in your mind as memorable.
Gosh.
You have a lot?
I have a lot of them. I'm trying to think of one that's somewhat appropriate, and just basically when client got naked on me, and it was really awkward and uncomfortable. But
Did they know you were there on the plane?
Yes, it was just very bizarre.
Were they like napping? Or
No,
like
I think he just had a little bit too much wine and thought he might have.
Oopsie.
Yeah,
Whoops.
I don't know. It was just very bizarre.
I mean, I've heard of people getting arrested on flights for like running through the aisles naked, but never on like a corporate flight. Like I'd be like,
just
interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Well, at that point, you're the flight attendant. You're probably the only person on board besides the pilots.
yes.
So how would you handle a situation if your client or your client's friends or somebody got a little out of hand? Like who?
Well, I basically have to go up to the captain, and he's ultimately the one in charge. So if I, felt uncomfortable, like I did with the situation, and I kind of just stayed near the cockpit while he went to the back and tried to figure out what was going on. But yeah, I don't think he ever put his clothes on the rest of the flight.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, either
He's like a naked drunk. Huh?
It was
He likes to be
weird,
naked.
and I did serve him when he was naked. It was very awkward.
maybe he's just comfortable in his own
I
skin.
know, but
guess so.
it was very bizarre.
Huh. So do you, what kind of income can people expect if they're just getting into it?
Gosh, I don't know what the starting pay is right now, to be exact, but I know I hear really low pay from probably 40,000 up to well over in 6-figure range.
Okay.
It just depends on, every account is different.
Wow.
It's like what you're worth, like if you're starting out and
Yes.
you're not really doing all of the things, or if you're just getting acquainted with this client or something versus a higher end client. I guess it would just depend on like what you're flying, how often you're flying,
exactly.
and what services you are really providing for them. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it seems like a pretty cool thing. Like, Natalie and I are both pilots. Being in the aviation world, like I'm obsessed with airplanes. But like, do you ever have dreams of being a pilot for one of these corporate positions?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we met in Reno.
Yes.
We met in Reno?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you typically go to air shows, or what made you decide to go to Reno?
I started about a year or two ago, and it's just because I just decided to start flying and working on my private pilot license.
Oh, cool. So you're working on your private.
It's been about a 2-year process to try to get this done, only because I do travel. I'm gone 20 days a month, so it's taking me a lot longer than the normal person because I'm just
Starting
not
fresh.
You have a
And
very
I'm not-
different schedule.
I'm
You
not
just-
consistent too.
Yeah.
So,
What made you decide to do that?
a friend took me up for aerobatics one day, and I just was hooked. I was very interested and said I need to learn how to fly.
And you fly out of Orange County?
Oh yes, Orange County, John Wayne Airport.
Right.
That's a busy airport to be learning to
airspace
fly.
is-
Yes,
yeah.
it's been quite the challenge, but right now I have about almost 200 hours. Most of it's spent on the ground trying to get out. 20 minutes, sometimes to taxi and hold for a whole bunch of other aircrafts.
Yeah, I think that, where I fly, we're kind of far enough from Cincinnati, which would be the busiest area. I don't deal with a lot, like there's no tower, it's just, so that would be really interesting.
It's been
And frustrating, being on the ground for so long, just
Yes.
taxiing and getting actually
Wow,
into the
yeah.
air.
Yeah, I learned it at a non-towered airport, and I mean, if there was one other airplane in the airspace, I was lucky, to get a little time talking to somebody else. Now I fly out of Springfield, and it's really nice working at a towered airport, I feel like, because they just give you all the directions. That's really great. But for you, like taxiing and like if you're trying to do pattern work, like you said the other day that, we had talked about, pattern work, and you're like, sometimes it's not even available. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not available?
Yes, especially lately, they've John Wayne Airport's had some staffing issues, and every day I'm trying to fly, I hear that ATIS saying pattern is closed.
Oh wow!
So, wow. Thank God I'm not working on my landings right now, but I feel for the people that are trying to learn out of John Wayne, and they have to go fly to another airport, and it's about 20 minutes to get to another airport.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's interesting because I like people that I think train at uncontrolled, non-towered fields are very intimidated by fields that are towered,
but it's vice versa.
But it's vice versa for you. So, are you comfortable flying to non-towered fields? Do you do that?
I don't like it. I do, and I've done a lot of flying to French Valley and Hemet. But you got to be on it. You got to look for the traffic.
Is there a lot of traffic?
Oh yes. I mean,
California,
I did get cut off at French Valley. I mean, you just have to really watch it. So I do feel more comfortable at John Wayne.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, going from a non-towered to towered, I feel comfortable now talking to ATC and all of those things, but at the same time, like if you think about it, non-towered, people could not have radios, you have to join the pattern correctly, people could just be doing stupid things, like you really have to think about it. And at a towered, they have everybody on, frequency, like everybody's on the same page, but I mean, it's just...
I would think your situational awareness would not be, like... I feel like if you're not at a non-towered field, then you really are aware, and you're listening to where people are stating they are and paying attention. You probably don't do that as much.
Oh, I mean, I still do. You
do?
We have 2 really busy active runways, and, especially, holding... There's a jet, holding in between the runways, and then one about to land, and you're dealing with the jet blast coming in and the wake turbulence of a plane just taking off. And there's been a couple times where I'm about to try to land, and you feel that wake turbulence, and I just I'm going around because I'm not about to fight this to get the plane on the ground.
Yeah.
So. Now, when you're flying in your corporate job, are you thinking about general aviation pilots? Because as general aviation pilots, I'm always thinking about these jets and cool things that are flying in and out, and I'm like, cool, but like I'm pulling up and holding short or something, and you definitely in a smaller aircraft, I fly Archers mainly, and you really have to pay attention to what's in front of you or what's coming in. But like I'm kind of a nerd in the sense that like I always have my ForeFlight pulled up, and I'm checking out like the winds and everything, even on a commercial flight. Like, is that something that you do in your job?
I do, yes, absolutely. I mean, I like to sit up front with the boys and listen to their communications. It's definitely helped me with my training. I think my strongest points with becoming a private pilot would be the radio communications, because I have heard it for the last 14 years. So that would definitely be like the easiest part of learning how to fly for me.
True.
I think that was the scariest part of my training.
Really? The communications?
The communications, because I just feel that fear of screwing up and then being like, who in the heck is this on the radios? Especially because I'm female.
Of course.
So I just don't want to feel like an outsider when that happens. But yeah, I think that would be really great that you were like strong in that.
If you can handle flying in and out of John Wayne, I would think you can pretty much handle anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing the comms, you're dealing with all the traffic. I'm almost envious, actually, because you're thrown into like everything.
Oh yeah, and then flying through the Class Bravo, as well. I mean,
that's a very congested area.
It's just so busy.
Yeah. So, what's one of your favorite places that you've flown yourself, like in your lessons and things? Have you flown out to like Catalina Island?
I have done.
Have you?
Yes.
Dreams come true.
What was that like?
Well, I had to have an instructor with me, of course, because you can't fly there until you get checked out. But it was great. I love Catalina. They just repaved the runway recently, so it's great. It's a lot better than what it used to be. I never landed there before, but everybody says it's a lot better than what it used to be. I love flying to Camarillo. It's a great, straight shot in. It's fun actually kind of flying through the Class Bravo special flight rules area. And they have a great restaurant over there. So
what about like aviation events and things? Like what what have been some of your highlights of this year or the last couple years?
Well, meeting you two girls at the Reno Air Races was definitely probably the highlight of the year because I think we have this amazing friendship that's never going to go away and this special bond.
Yeah, just so you guys know, we're in Chicago right now, and we're just having a girls' weekend because I think we're all a little bit sad over the winter that we don't get to see each other as often because there's not as many air shows and just
we have
meet
no
up.
good excuses, do we? To like
Yeah,
get together
so
again.
it's like when you have something in common like this, you just you have this crazy connection without even knowing their personalities at first. Because, you know, Reno was kind of funny because I had no intentions of going into Reno, and I actually didn't even know what Reno Air Races were. So I was like, hey, let's look at this, because Sandra and I had been friends on probably Instagram and Facebook for about 6 months. And the amazing thing about social media is, like, you know, we follow each other and we see each other's journeys and, like, we support each other. But at the same time, like, we don't know one another. So Sandra had reached out to me and said, hey, girl, are you going to the Reno Air Races? And I was like, nah.
I think you texted me. You're like, are you going to the Reno Air Races?
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to decide. Like, Sandra's messaging me, and I thought Natalie was going. And so I was like, you know, I'd love to go, but I just don't have the means or, you know, the connections that might work out perfectly. So Sandra was like, well, I have a room and you're welcome to stay. And Natalie was like, yeah, I'm working, you know, for a company, so I'm going to be there, and, or, you know, with a team, and I'll be there. And so a week before the race, I was like, I'm in, booked the flight. May have cost me a little bit more money, but it was totally worth it. We made awesome friendships.
Yes.
And I think that's the amazing thing about aviation, whether you're in corporate or airline or air shows or just private, social media has kind of brought everything together for all of us. And now we're in Chicago having cocktails in our hotel room, recording podcasts.
So what else have you done as far as aviation events other than Reno that you...
I did go to the High Sierra Fly-In.
Oh, okay.
That was fun. I wish you girls were there.
Talk about what that is.
Well, I got in kind of late on a Friday night, and the weather was really bad on Saturday, so they decided to do the Stoll Drag races Friday, so I didn't get to see any of that, unfortunately.
So is it all about the Stoll Drag races? Is that what High Sierra is?
Stoll Drag
Okay.
racing. I mean, it's an incredible event. I can't wait to go back next year, and hopefully the weather will be better. And I was hoping to go with you girls, if anything.
Yeah. So Stoll Drag, like, can you explain to people that might not know what it is, what it might entail?
You might be able to describe it a little bit more than me. I think you know more than I do about it.
So Stoll Drag is short takeoff and landing. They actually just got picked up by Reno Air Races when we were there,
Yes.
so that's pretty cool. A new class of racing. They actually start from a dead stop. They take off as fast as they can. They fly low, and then they have a finish line at the other side where they have to take and put a slip into the airplane to slow them down enough to land the airplane safely, come to a complete stop. They have to pass this line, and then they have to spin around 180, turn around, take off again, get airborne, and go to the other side where they started and do the exact same thing. So they put a slip in, stop, and whoever comes to a complete stop at the end of that is the winner of the race. So High Sierra is based on this specific type of racing. It's more bush planes and backcountry flying. And these are very experienced pilots. These are not you and I learning how to fly in a...
And this is not a runway, right?
No, I mean they kind of put one together, I guess you could say, in a way, with cones and whatnot. But
yeah, the High Sierra is a dried up lake bed that they turn into this camping, flying party, kind of. And it's kind of amazing what they've done with that. So
how long has it been going on?
Was this...
I'm not sure.
I feel like I hadn't heard about it a whole lot until more recently.
It's becoming quite popular.
I honestly think this was like the 7th year,
I think
8th year, or 10th year.
Yeah.
You know, newer. But I think it started as something, as a like the Bush pilots like small group, and I think it's now grown, and it's actually a race at Reno, which is pretty prestigious.
Yes,
and that's really amazing for the guys that kind of came up with this. But I wonder where it's going to take it, because I feel like aviation has really, the Bush Pilot Live is now the standard. This
it's
like
becoming very
everybody
trendy.
wants to everybody
very
wants to
trendy.
get a tail wheel airplane and Bush tires, Bush wheels, and do these backcountry things.
I was shocked by how expensive the airplanes were.
Oh yes,
Because I thought they look so basic, when you look at
They're
these
lightweight.
airplanes.
They're fabric covered mostly, and a lot of these pilots, Steve Henry, for instance, or Hal, they have made these airplanes. It's like, I think Hal's airplane is like the flying lawnmower or something, but it's, some of these pilots have hundreds of thousands of dollars in these airplanes, but some of these pilots have very minimal. I mean, Steve Henry is putting in snowmobile engines in their 300 horsepower, so they're crazy winding up, but they're super powerful, but they're making them work for airplane applications. So, I mean, it's kind of a broad spectrum, but the airplanes are kind of crazy expensive.
Are they mostly like the airplane? They buy an airplane and they like soup it up and they make modifications.
Yeah. I think it's making it as light as possible, have as much power as possible. And, most people think of power as in the airplane's going to go 300 miles per hour. But these airplanes are very powerful to get them off the ground, to produce enough power quickly. And, Steve's airplane, I feel like, it was a 300 horsepower engine. It got us off the ground really fast, but I think like the cruise was 130. So not any faster than your average Piper or Cessna or something, but your takeoff is so much faster.
But these kind of airplanes, like Bush planes, they are, correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm thinking they are made to land kind of like anywhere, and they have to be able to do the short field takeoff and landings, because you could be in the mountains or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Alaska type things like that. That's what I picture. Is that what you...
Yeah, for sure. Idaho, Alaska, just backcountry. And even we have Rogers International Airway. It's down in Kentucky, and it's maybe 1,200 foot strip or something, but there's trees on both sides, trees on every end. It's one way in, one way out, and you have to be very experienced and know how to deal with your airplane in those situations. So I think it's the strength of them. It's not like necessarily the fastest takeoff and landing. It's more knowing how to handle your airplane to get out of those situations. The racing is really great, but most of the time those are in open areas.
Yeah. What's cool about those are that you can kind of go anywhere and kind of off the beaten path somewhat. Not just your regular runway. You can go places that I couldn't go in my Piper Archer, and pretty much put it down wherever you want to. And then just like camp there.
Exactly. That'd be so much fun.
Camping is so fun.
I would love that. Just be around, like, nobody else around you. That just sounds...
Now, is that something
incredible.
You're super interested in?
I am.
Like,
I have not flown a tail wheel yet, but I'm definitely curious to see what it's about, and we'll definitely pursue the tail wheel endorsement, I believe, after this private.
So what is your, maybe you were going to say the same thing. What is your goal with the flying?
This is
getting your
just
pilot's
for
license?
fun. I have no desire to go into, commercial, being a commercial pilot. This is just for fun. Eventually purchase my own aircraft. I don't know what that's going to be quite yet. Do I want to get, everybody asks me, what kind of plane do you want? What kind of plane do you want? And I say, I'm not sure. Do I go with a trainer, a Piper Cherokee, a Cessna 172? Or do I maybe want to get some training in a tail wheel, see how I like that, and then maybe purchase a tail wheel? I just don't know right now. I'm so indecisive, but I think maybe after I fly for a little bit and get a little bit more experience, I will make that decision.
Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing with choosing an airplane maybe that you want to purchase is maybe going and flying something very similar to what you are interested in, because I've flown a lot of airplanes, and there's things like a 172. A lot of people fly them, but I don't feel as stable in them as a Piper or low wing.
Yeah.
But then I flew a Scout across country, and I almost would rather have, a Scout, even though it's a 2-seater, more of a bush plane. It has the same speeds as an Archer. So, it's really finding what you're comfortable in. And we all love the look of those big wheels on a bush plane, but at the same time, like, I've flown them now, and I'm like, these are insane on pavement. So is it feasible for where I live? So it's really, I think, go and fly what you're looking at, and then see what really feels good to you.
Exactly. And especially everybody says, what's your mission? And it's just for fun, but I do want to get into mountain flying, and I want to be able to fly to Lake Tahoe for a weekend. So I will definitely have to get at least a minimum of 180 horsepower of an airplane.
What does your family think about it? Is anyone in aviation in your family, or they fly other than being the corporate flight attendant?
Just my mom's corporate flight attendant, and that's it. And my dad says he's really proud of me. He's always wanted to learn how to fly, so he will be my first passenger after I get my license.
Yeah.
So,
what's the training been like for you? What's the hardest part?
That's such a great question. Where do we start? I have so many stories about my training. It has not been the best, but I finally got the best instructor to wrap up my training with. But I did start with a Diamond Star 40 that my company provides as the employee flight department airplane to learn on, or to, build your hours for an amazing price.
Yeah.
And then that plane just tended to be in maintenance quite a bit, and decided to swap to the 172 and finish it up. So
Okay, cool.
But yeah, just all fun. Flying for fun.
Yeah, I think that's the best part. Like, I've been like lingering in this starting IFR, more, because I do want to pursue it eventually. I kind of see it as my retirement plan, and I'm only 31, but like my retirement plan's like more at 35. So, it's I think once I found aviation, it was kind of, I got ate up with it. The people, the experiences, the bush flying, the just life that you live so much. And I feel like there's so many people out there that have never got the opportunity to see these kinds of things. And I definitely didn't. I grew up very, I wouldn't say poor, but I grew up very... We weren't wealthy, so I didn't know anybody that was a pilot, and getting into this was very strange for my family. But now they think it's really cool, but they still don't get it. And so it's finding like friends like you guys that make it all work for me in my mind. And starting IFR is not fun flying, as we all know if you have done IFR, but I think it's very something that I need to pursue. And are you gonna do your IFR to be a safer pilot, or are you like a little bit scared now?
We were just talking about this, and I was overachiever and wanted to go straight into instrument training after this private, and I just recently decided I'm absolutely not going to. I'm going to just take a break, gain some experience flying around, maybe change my mind. I know everybody says it will make you a safer pilot, and it's the biggest accomplishment, but I don't right now. I don't have it in my heart, but maybe
I
my
feel
mind.
Like in
my mind will
California,
change.
maybe I wouldn't say you wouldn't need it as much. I always think of the weather being so great there.
It is, but we do have that marine layer that just sticks around. And there have been flights I've been on with friends that have their own airplanes. And a great story would be we took off from Long Beach. It became IFR, so we couldn't land back in Long Beach. We had to land in El Monte and leave the plane there, and then Uber back to Long Beach. So
wow,
that was a great little learning experience.
Now, if you could have one place that you flew into yourself in the entire U.S. or Canada or Mexico, because we are legally able to fly there, where would you pick to fly into?
That is such a great question. I don't think I could pick one, but I am so intrigued with flying in Alaska and Canada. It's hard to pick one spot, but I see beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring.
Yeah. What are your plans as far as like aviation events this upcoming year?
Oh gosh. Well, I would love to go to Sun and Fun, and then Oshkosh. Of course, I would love to go to Oshkosh too, but it just depends on my work schedule if I can take the time off.
Yeah.
I hope to see you girls there, of course.
Yeah, I hope so. We were talking a little bit about that and how difficult it is to get a decent hotel, how expensive it is.
Yes.
And I think, this year I've done the hotel thing at Sun and Fun. I've done an RV there at Sun and Fun. And I think this year will be my first year I'll actually camp in a tent.
Natalie,
I don't
Fly
see
Girl
you
Kelly
doing that.
is going to camp in a tent. Y'all heard it. I'm going to hold her to this. We might need the Taj Mahal of tents. But I might have to come and do her hair even.
I know.
We're going to make it
I just
happen.
don't see that happening. So I would love to see it.
So my Sun and Fun experience was my first time ever to an air show in my life was flying in with friends, and we camped. And so that's nostalgia to me. That is where it's at, and that's where you get to meet the most people. I'm there from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, and I pretty much don't sleep because I'm on cloud 9 at Sun and Fun. I know everybody obsesses over Oshkosh, but Oshkosh is so widespread and so crazy, and I feel so stretched thin. You take a piece of taffy and you stretch it out, and I'm in that middle. And so Sun and Fun is kind of that happy medium. You get all of the things. You get to go camping. You get to see all your friends, your companies that you love. And they even have a really good coffee truck on the grounds. And I don't ever have to leave if I camp. And I have not flown in there by myself yet. I flew with some friends the first air show I ever went to, which was 2018. But this year, my friend Rupert from Austria is coming, and we plan on flying in. So I'm counting on you, Rupert, to get me in there. And I mean, it's got to be easier than Oshkosh, right?
I would think.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty nervous about the camping thing. I mean, because I'm what are these showers are going to be like? I can deal with. I'm okay, I can do it for a week. It's just a week.
They have showers. It's not, it's not the Four Seasons, but it definitely wear flip flops, for your shower, because it's really nice shower houses. But it's
when
concrete.
do you decompress? That's another thing. It's so social. And at times I can just be completely zapped and worn out, and I'm just I have got to find somewhere to chill and be
So
alone.
you go to your tent, you go camp under your tent or under your airplane in your tent, and you just watch the airplanes, or you just chill out in your tent. I took a cooler full of food and snacks and maybe some wine, and and you just kind of decompress. But honestly, I feel a week, okay, I can push through a week of but sometimes you do want your space, but go take a nap.
It's hard to find there. There's a lot of people there.
But Sun and Fun is so much smaller than Oshkosh, and I feel it's kind of more relaxed atmosphere now that I've experienced both. It doesn't seem as crazy. And you guys definitely need to go to Sun and Fun just for the waffles at the Sun and Fun Radio. Don't tell anybody I told you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trevor.
Yeah. I really like Sun and Fun because I feel it's kind of the kickoff to the whole season.
Show season. Yeah, it's
and
air
I feel
shows.
It's on, once you go there. And of course, I love Florida. I love the sunshine. I love to get down there and just be basking in the sun. And I probably like it better than Oshkosh.
Yeah, for sure. And
What other major shows are coming up too besides Sun and Fun and Oshkosh? Are there other ones that
Those are the two big
I
ones.
might
You
not
can
know
find
about?
something every weekend.
Every
once it starts,
weekend, yeah.
several. Yeah.
I was
I mean,
curious about that.
there's so many fly-in campouts, events. I mean, there's corporate events. There's air shows everywhere. And I mean, anything from the Blue Angels to Aeroshell. You can find amazing Aeroshells. You can find amazing air shows anywhere out throughout the U.S. Pretty much from Sun and Fun, which is in April, all the way through September,
November,
October,
Dallas and
November,
Wings
yeah.
over Houston. I think is in November. We're into October, but it goes on for a long time. That's the problem. That's my problem. I want to go like every show, every weekend.
We are on like speed from April to November, and honestly, I'm okay with that. But now I'm kind of feeling like I don't have any friends through the winter. And so if y'all could just give me a shout out through the winter, like, hey, cool.
It's very different, isn't it? It's kind of like, I need to be going somewhere. And there's what's going on? Maybe that's why we wound up coming to Chicago. It's kind of like, we got to do something.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's, having people in aviation is just amazing, because now that, I have this widespread friendship with anybody who's a pilot pretty much, I can go to anywhere and meet someone, and that's really how it bridged our relationship with Sandra. And I'm very thankful, especially on this Thanksgiving weekend, that we are together and get to share our love of airplanes, hobbies.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sandra. Is there anything else you would say to anyone maybe that might be interested in a corporate aviation
just don't
career?
Give up. I know a lot of people that went through the training and kind of just gave up and weren't persistent. So just
because they weren't getting immediate callbacks or something?
You just have to keep going and keep knocking on doors via email, calls.
Oh, I did want to ask, how much, like when they go to these flight safety things, like how much does it cost? What are they going to invest in that?
I think it's about $4,000.
Okay.
It could be more. That might be from a couple years ago.
Okay. And that's for like a week?
Yes, and as a contractor, you do pay that yourself, and then if you do have a full-time job, usually the company will take care of that for you. So,
okay.
But yeah, just don't give up hope. Just keep going for it, and it'll come.
Tell us where to find you on social media in case someone wants to reach out to you and ask you questions.
So, great question. Global Girl is my Instagram handle. Just Global, GLOBAL, Girl, GIRL, super simple. And then on my Facebook, it's Sandra Janine, SAUNDRA, and then JEANNINE.
Yes, if you guys need any help in that realm or any questions, feel free to shoot us a message.
Yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, well, that was really fun. You were nervous about it. How do you think it went?
I'm just super shy and timid at first. But you girls make it easy.
Cheers to being
all right.
easy.
Yeah.
All right, cheers.
Thanks for joining.
You've been listening to Cockpits and Cocktails with your hosts Natalie Flygirl Kelly and Fly Alyssa. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join us next time for a lively discussion on aviation, aerospace, the air travel industry, and all things flight related.
Yeah,